welcome back. It's Matt, and it's Amazon Prime time. So that means there's a ton of deals on Amazon in regards to aquarium stuff as well. But to be honest, they're not as great as they used to be. So don't expect any crazy deals at all. If you do find a deal that I missed, let me know. But I try to scour Amazon and find kind of the primary aquarium stuff like tanks, heaters, lights, and stuff like that. For this list, I just try to stick to brands that I'm familiar with and I've used, and a lot of products I've used before. There's a ton of, Chinese brands and off brands there, especially in the aquarium hobby, but established kind of cheaper brands like Hygger and NICREW are the ones I try to stick with just because I'm familiar with those brands. I've used a lot of their stuff, and to be honest, like I've never had a problem with either of those guys' stuff. Okay, so before we get too far along, I want to show you how to actually find out if it's a good deal. A lot of times when Amazon Prime Day comes, a lot of sellers will up their price for a couple months and then lower the price back down to what's the normal price as a Prime Day deal. So they're actually just paying normal price and they're just advertising it as being on sale. Kind of sketchy, but a good way to find out is to use a site like, or an extension like Camel Camel Camel. And I'll show you that here. All you have to do is just go straight up to Camel Camel Camel. You can see I already looked up a Hygger aquarium heater. And you can see all the deals here. You can see best price listed here. And if you're looking for something specific, I always have a trouble saying that word. If you're looking for something specific, just say, like, take Hygger, copy and paste this, Hygger upgrade ceramic aquarium heater. And then you just plug it, copy paste that. Sometimes Camel 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 will show up the result, and sometimes it won't. Like I said, a lot of these sellers put these up on and off, and sometimes you won't get the hit because Camel 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 doesn't have it on their database. So the sellers took it off for a while just so that they weren't tracked by something like Camel Camel Camel, and then they put it back on, so there's not a good price history to refer off of. And a lot of sellers come and go on Amazon anyways when it comes to aquarium stuff. So this isn't a perfect way, but it's just a really good way of finding out if there's a good deal. So let's look at this Hygger small aquarium beta heater. You can see here in the past year, we're in all right now, but it's only been up for about a year for this product here. And boom, boom, boom. Last year in March all the way to now in May, April, mid-April, looks like the price dropped down. So it's not really a Prime Day deal. It's been on sale for a while. But that being said, there's other things you might be able to find like this here, right? So if we go and type in Hygger, I don't even remember how to spell Hygger. I've just looked at it like 2 seconds ago. Hygger sponge filter. Type that in. It'll load. That's the one we're looking for. And you can see the history here. Way better example because, it does drop and come up and stuff. So you can see it did drop down to $13.99 compared to the $19.99. So that's a little bit better. You save a couple bucks. And that's kind of the case for most things on Amazon Prime Day nowadays. You're never going to get anything really half off or anything like that anymore. Really, you're just going to get maybe a couple bucks off, and that's okay. If you buy a bunch of stuff at a couple bucks, you save a bunch of money, right? So that's Camel Camel Camel. Hope that helps you out. Always reference, make sure you don't get ripped off because that happens a ton on Amazon Prime Day deals. Okay, so here are the things I've found that are relatively good deal. Hygger has a bunch of sales on their heaters right now. Some heaters are on sale for a good price, and some are, like I said, just kind of rip-off deals where it looks like they're on sale, but they're not. Here's one of them. I used to have this one, Hygger upgraded ceramic aquarium heater. It's 20 bucks right now. Used to be 24 bucks. Most aquarium heaters, to be honest, are very similar. The reason why I like this one is because it has this set button, and that's pretty much it. Okay, next up, this Hygger Aquarium hang on the back filter. I have had a bunch of Hygger and NICREW hang on the back filters. Most hang on the back filters are the same. Construction is the same. The design's a little bit different, but they essentially do the same thing in the same exact way. It's just rebranded. But I like Hygger and NICREW just because the motors have never gone out on me. A lot of people complain that the motors go out within a year or two. I've never had one of those brands motors go out on me. For 10 to 20 gallons at 24 bucks, that's a pretty good deal. If you go to like Petco, PetSmart, Aquarium stuff can be a lot more, and usually that stuff is even cheaper than and less quality than this stuff. I do like uh, clear filters, hang on the back filters, and that's only because you can see when it's starting to gunk up. You will get more algae because it's clear, and light obviously goes through clear things, making algae grow, but that also will incentivize you to clean it because the water flow will be worse. And I found I won't clean it and I'll forget about it if everything's working fine, but then it's like I probably should be cleaning that filter more often. Here's that Hygger sponge filter we looked at before. Uh, every sponge filter essentially works the same. I'm not going to tell you how a sponge filter works. You can go look that up. But Hygger one at this style is really good just because you get those two chambers. You get a lot more surface area. And then if you notice down here, they also have the kind of like balls or ceramic clay balls. That's really just for um, implementing and utilizing the beneficial bacteria, and that's somewhere for the beneficial bacteria to grow. A lot of people, when they clean their sponge filters, they just use normal tap water and just squeeze it out in the tap water. But the chlorine from the tap water is going to be killing your beneficial bacteria. So these balls in here should not really be cleaned really that often, if ever. And then that will just make sure you have an established good colony of beneficial bacteria within the filter. Does it do a lot? Is there a lot of bacteria on there? Probably not. Most of your beneficial bacteria will probably be on your substrate and your hardscape and all that stuff. But it does help out, especially if you have a smaller tank. Sponge filters are really good if you don't want high flow. And for 16 bucks at this size, that's a pretty good deal. Next up, this NICREW Aquarium Inlet Internal Filter. I'm not a big fan of this style, but I know a lot of people like this style, especially if they have like multi-tier tanks like paludariums or turtle tanks and stuff like that. Um, this waterfall cascade style can be good if you want low flow, but it just needs to be cleaned more often. And the reason why I'm not a big fan of it is, let's see here. Let's see if they show you. Yep. So here, all you can see all the internal filter components are within the filter, but that filter is inside your tank. So because of that, it takes up a lot more room. And some people can argue it's just like a sponge filter, takes up a ton of room. I'm also not a fan of sponge filters if I'm aquascaping and trying to do a good aquascape, just because they take up a lot of room. If I'm going to go with this style, I'm going to make sure that you have a lot of space. And then um, if anything, make sure that, yeah, that's just something I'm going to be using. If not, just go with a canister filter. Next up, Hygger's Advanced LED. Hygger has a ton of LED lights on sale right now, and I've did a bunch of research through Camel, and then seeing like, okay, what are the prices and are they actually on sale? For the most part, you're saving like $3, $4, $5, maybe 10 on some of them, but yeah, the average is like $3 or $4 of savings, which is something, right? Like that could add up to be something else you buy. So, Hygger Lights are a really good budget brand, I think. And usually they come with a bunch of settings. Most of them come with switches. You can see here that have like the automatic timer listed, which is awesome. And then usually the controls for a lot of the Hygger lights allow you to select I want white lights or just blue lights or white and blues and stuff like that. And here's another example of the Hygger clip light if you're interested. This is another cool one if you have a tank like mine and have rimless tanks and you don't want to span that whole thing. I just bumped my disc. If you don't want to span that whole tank and you just want to couple onto the edge, this is a good option. I have a really old version of this, and I've, I mean, to be honest, it's like I've moved a lot, so I've lost a lot of stuff over the years, which is why I don't have a lot of the stuff with me anymore. But I know the Hygger one never went out on me. I had it on my saltwater nano tank for I think 6 years or something, and it was great. So I included a knot Hygger or NICREW Light. This is a Pawfly. I've seen these guys a couple times. Full disclosure, I haven't ever had a Pawfly product, but um, it's $7, and then these guys are usually $9, which is wild to me, right? So to be honest, most plants you don't need to worry about too much about lighting, and if you're really in the high end stuff when it comes to aquascaping and stuff like that, like you're going to be spending hundreds of dollars on a light, right? But if you're like me and you can't spend $200 on an aquarium light because you have to spend it on a lot of other things, then yeah, totally. This is fine. This will grow your plants. No need to worry about it. $7. Yeah, go for it. Okay, the last thing, Fluval. Fluval used to be a huge brand in the market in the aquarium hobby. Uh, the pandemic kind of really tanked down everything they had, and they had a bunch of problems during that time, and you don't really see them around anymore. I had a 5 gallon and 2.5 gallon Fluval tank way back in the day, and those were great. I moved a bunch of times with those, never had an issue with them, never leaked or anything like that. And they were kits, and they were, I think, some of the first aquarium tank kits around for a reasonable price. So I'm a big fan of Fluval. I still like a lot of their stuff. Um, Whenever I can find them, that is. And this stuff is on sale right now. So this a 30-gallon fish tank heater for $27 is a good deal for sure. And like I said, I'm a Fluval fan. I like their stuff. Definitely check it out. When it comes to the sizes of the filters, you always want to like go a couple gallons down from what they advertise. If they say 30 gallons, let's go back up. They say, 30 gallons, you probably want to be using it for a 20-gallon tank. And that's not the case if you're using like super high end aquarium filters. You're going to be going by like the amount of cycles of the tank in gallon per hour or something. But when they just give you the gallons, then, you probably want to get a bigger filter for the smaller tank. That being said, if you have something just like a beta tank, then you don't want to do that because the flow will be way too high. And the reason why I always say go bigger for a small tank is that you really want enough circulation in the water to filter out everything. And a lot of times this is just the maximum. You're really pushing it with that amount of filter size to the tank. That's pretty much it. That's all the deals I could find that were reasonable and actually an actual deal. If you find anything else, let me know in the comments below. I know Amazon Prime Day is fleeting. There's not as many deals as there used to be, but it's always a good time to just scout out and see if you can save some money. Quick note, substrate stuff, nothing's really on sale. It's all a lie. Don't trust it all. You can get stuff cheaper at probably your local fish store. Hardscape stuff like wood and rocks and stuff, also not really good deals. There's a bunch of them that say they're a Prime Day deal. They're really not. A lot of the unbranded combination tanks aren't really vetted. I'm not really a fan of just buying random tanks. You could get a good one, but then you could also get a not great one, and then it could leak all over the place, which happened kind of to me. But I have a video about that. I'll link it somewhere here. I'll post about it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope that helps out. Like the video if you liked it. Sub if it helped you out. Comment with just random stuff or any tips that you find with the Prime Day stuff, because I like buying stuff too. And then I forget what my last thing was. Keep scaping. See you later. Thanks. Bye.